Okay, our last question, Tina, you'll take it first. Do you support the plank in the Republican Party of Texas platform that calls for the abolishment of property taxes?
Absolutely, I do. I think we have the most conservative, I'm the former chair of the Republican Party of Texas, and anyone who has seen knows I have stood up to elected officials day in and day out. I really do believe that we should, I believe in a sales tax and a consumption tax so that citizens actually determine what they're going to spend and what they're going to give the government of their property to spend. I think that private property is not just land, it's also the very fruit of your labor.
Is this what Governor Perry?
I started to say, I'm going to move into that. So, obviously, at some point, I think we do need to look at that. We have looked at that, but the reality is that it is the legislature that actually sets that budget. And I can tell you, a couple of sessions ago, they couldn't even get a one-cent sales tax increase in order to offset and pay for some public schooling that otherwise we could have reduced property taxes by. Now, I will say that Governor Perry has reduced property taxes by a third. We've started the appraisal reform process too. It has not gone far enough, and we want to finish that in the next legislative session. However, right now, there is not the will of the legislature to do that, and anyone who promises you that there is hasn't been down there fighting that battle. What we need are more conservatives in the state house, because quite frankly, we have between 11 and 12 Republicans who will vote with the Democrats on any given day. Until we get real conservatives down there in the House and in the Senate, it's going to take some more doing, and that's why we have literally been not only reforming the appraisal process, 2 constitutional amendments, we did that last time, but continuing to cut back on property taxes and trying to move to a more consumption-based tax basis.
Thank you. Debra?
Cornerstone of this campaign has nothing to do with fiscal concerns. It has to do with understanding that the government's job is to ensure a fair and just set of laws that protects life, liberty, and property. Private property ownership is an essential element of freedom. It is as important to freedom as air and water are to life. In all of history, those nations that were most free and most prosperous had in common private property ownership and gun ownership. Don't let the seed of fear and doubt be planted in your life that we can't do it for fiscal reasons. First of all, property tax is not a state tax. There isn't any reason that the legislature should fear rescinding the authority to levy a property tax. It's not a state tax, it's a local tax. Eliminate property tax in Texas and create broader provision for local government to raise the revenue that it needs to do what it needs to do at the local level with a sales or a consumption tax. It is smart policy, but most importantly, it restores freedom. And it creates accountability between the citizen and that elected official, who can no longer manipulate both the rate of taxation and the value of the item that's taxed, who will be held accountable. Say, well, what are you going to do when we get in a recession and sales tax revenue falls? I said the same thing the rest of us do when we get in a recession and our revenue falls. You cut spending, or you'll be forced to come back to the people and do what everybody else does when revenue falls. You'll go into debt, you'll raise the tax rate, or you'll cut spending. That's good government policy. It's the kind of accountability and transparency we need for a free and prosperous society.
Thank you. There's a quote that continues to come to my mind throughout this race from Teddy Roosevelt, and I'd like to share it with you right now. He said, "It's not the critic that counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasm, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement. I say that because I think Governor Perry has been in the arena. He's made some incredible leadership decisions. There have been things that I'm sure all of us have disagreed with from time to time. But there's one thing that we know, and that is he has been there fighting for Texans. He loves Texas. He loves Texans. He cares about us. He has continually stood when others have not. He has shown courage when others have failed. Regardless of the situation, when he came in, you look at a $10 billion deficit. What did he do?
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Thank
okay.
you very much.
Thank you. Debra, go ahead. 1 minute.
You know who's been in the arena? Living under big government, living under an insulated senator who's been in Washington serving special interests there, living under the big government policies of a governor who's been in state public office for years. Since 1994, I think, is when Governor Perry went into state service. He's been our governor for 9 years. That's not in the arena. You're in the arena. I'm in the arena. Our founders believed we ought to elect men from among the people to go in and serve for a time. Tell Governor Perry and Senator Hutchison, thank you for your service to Texas. It's time to come back and live under the laws you passed and put people in office who have been there